My name is Marin Doyle and I am 26 years old. The night everything collapsed began with the sound of my best friend's name echoing through a hospital corridor. I remember the lights above me, too white, too cold, buzzing like they were trying to warn me that nothing would ever be the same again. I stood there holding his phone in my trembling hand, staring at a single voice message he sent just minutes before the crash. I had not pressed play yet. I was scared to hear his voice, scared to learn the secret he carried alone for so long. The secret big enough to break everything we had, or reveal everything we never dared to say. His name was Liam Hart, and for 10 years he was the only person who knew me from the inside out. He knew my favorite foods, my worst fears, the sound I made when I tried not to cry, and the way I always tapped my fingers 3 times when I was anxious. He knew what I looked like at my worst and still stayed. He knew about my first heartbreak, my father walking out, my panic attacks at 16, and the way thunderstorms made me feel like a little girl again. I thought I knew him just as well. I thought there were no shadows between us, no walls, no hidden corners. But that night, I learned how wrong I was. The hospital smelled like metal and rain. I could still feel the storm outside on my skin, like it had followed me inside. My mother sat on a plastic chair near the wall, watching me with quiet worry. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She knew this moment wasn't hers. It belonged to me and to the boy lying somewhere behind the red emergency sign, the boy who used to steal the olives off my pizza and tease me for crying at commercials. The boy I trusted more than anyone. The boy who sent me a message titled "For You" before everything went dark. 6 hours earlier, we were in my kitchen laughing over nothing. He had flour on his shirt from helping me bake cookies for my coworker's birthday. The radio played a soft love song, and he danced in a stupid, slow-motion way that made me choke on laughter. He was warm, relaxed, alive. Nothing about him hinted at secrets. Nothing hinted at endings. But then his phone rang, and something inside him shifted. His shoulders tensed. His smile fell. He stepped away from me and answered in a voice too low for me to hear. I only caught a few words. "I told you, not tonight." And the one that burned in my mind now, "She doesn't know." Now, in the bright hospital hallway, those words played again and again in my head. I wanted to believe it was about his job or his family. Both were complicated, but something in his eyes earlier told me it was bigger than that. Something he had been carrying alone. Something he never trusted me with. Something that changed the way he looked at me that night. The phone grew heavier in my hand, as if his secret was sitting inside it, waiting to finally breathe. My heart pounded so loudly that I barely heard the doctor walk past. I imagined Liam's voice on the other side of that message, soft, nervous, almost breaking. I imagined him sitting in his car, knowing he was about to tell me something that could tear us apart or pull us closer than ever. And I wondered why he waited until the last moment. Why he chose to send it before the crash. Why he didn't say it to my face. My thumb hovered over the play button. My breath trembled. My eyes burned. I felt like a person standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing the moment they step forward, their world changes shape forever. If I pressed play, I would finally hear the truth he had carried alone. If I didn't, I could pretend things were still simple, still safe, still the way they used to be. But I wasn't a child anymore, and the past wasn't going to protect me. My voice cracked as I whispered to myself, "It's time." I closed my eyes, held the phone close to my ear, and pressed play. Marin Doyle was about to learn the secret Liam Hart kept hidden for 10 long years. And my heart was not ready for what came next. The first sound I heard wasn't his voice. It was his breathing, unsteady, nervous, like he was pacing or sitting in his car with the engine running. The noise of the city echoed faintly behind him, cars passing, a horn in the distance, maybe rain hitting the windshield. Then he whispered my name. Marin. His voice cracked on the second syllable, and my chest tightened like someone was pulling invisible strings around my ribs. If you're listening to this, it means I finally found the courage I never had when I was standing in front of you. I swallowed hard. My hand pressed the phone tighter against my ear. I could picture him, perfectly brown hair falling into his eyes, his jaw tense, his fingers tapping the steering wheel the way he always did when he was trying not to fall apart. The air around me felt too still. The hospital lights hummed softly, but everything inside me screamed. "I know you think you know me," he continued. "You know almost everything. You know what scares me, what makes me laugh, what songs I listen to when I can't sleep. You know the good in me, and the ugly too. But there's one thing I never told you, and it's the one thing that matters the most." I heard a shaky inhale, like he was fighting the kind of fear that makes your whole body heavy. I should have said it years ago. I should have said it the night you stood on the bridge crying about that boy who didn't love you. I held you, and you asked me if there were any truths left in the world worth believing. I wanted to tell you mine. I almost did, but I was a coward. My eyes burned. The memory of that night hit me like a wave. I was 18, heartbroken, lost. He found me walking alone, crying into my sleeves. He didn't ask questions. He just hugged me until I could breathe again. I remembered the warmth of his hoodie, the way his heart beat fast against my cheek, the way his voice shook when he whispered, "You're going to be okay." Back then I thought he was just scared for me. I didn't know he was scared of himself too. "I kept it hidden because I didn't want to lose you," he said, voice softer now. "I didn't want to ruin the best thing in my life. You, our friendship." He laughed weakly, but it was a sad sound, like he was laughing at his own pain. "But secrets grow, Marin. They start small like a seed. Then one day you look down, and it's a tree with roots wrapped around your heart so tight you can't breathe. I've been carrying this for so long, too long." A door opened somewhere down the hall, but the world around me felt far away. I felt like I was trapped inside the message with him, inside his car. Inside his fear, inside the truth he was finally ready to give me. His silence between words said as much as his voice. I could hear him looking for strength. I could hear him breaking. "I don't know what you'll think after this," he whispered. "Maybe you'll never talk to me again. Maybe you'll hate me. Maybe you'll wish I never said anything at all. And if that happens, I'll accept it, because you deserved to know a long time ago. You deserved honesty. Not this version of me that hides behind jokes and late-night talks and stupid smiles." My whole body felt frozen. I knew what he was about to say, some part of me had known for years, but I never let myself believe it. Never let myself hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope made people fall in love with the wrong timing, the wrong people, the wrong world. And yet, my heart beat like it was trying to jump out of my chest. Then he said it, his voice small, raw, trembling. "The truth is, I've been in love with you for 10 years. The phone almost slipped from my hand. The hallway blurred. My knees weakened like they couldn't hold me up anymore. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. This was not a soft confession whispered in candlelight or a sweet moment between two people who had time. This was a goodbye dressed as a truth. A love delivered at the edge of disaster. "I love you, Marin," he said again, stronger this time, like he finally believed the words belonged to him. Not as a friend, not as a memory. "I love you the way people love the one thing they can't live without." His voice broke completely. "And I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I'm sorry for all the years I pretended I didn't feel this. I'm sorry if this ruins everything. But I couldn't leave this world without you knowing." My heart stopped. My breath vanished. His words echoed inside me like thunder. Leave this world. Why would he say that? Why now? Why like this? Then I heard it, another sound in the background of the recording. A gasp, a hard exhale, a noise like impact. The phone shook in my hand even though it wasn't moving. "Oh God," he whispered in the message, voice tight with fear. "They're here. I have to go. Marin, something happens, remember this. It was always you. Always." The message ended. My fingers went numb. The corridor around me spun. A cold wave rushed through my body, heavy and fast, hitting my stomach, my chest, my throat. The phone slipped, and I barely caught it before it hit the floor. Turned toward the emergency room door with tears streaming down my face so fast I couldn't wipe them. Because his last words didn't just confess love, they confessed danger. Someone had been looking for him, someone who found him, and whatever secret he hid, it wasn't just about love. The moment the message ended, the world around me felt wrong, too loud, too bright, too close. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to breathe, but my chest wouldn't open. My hands were cold and shaking, and the phone felt like it was burning my skin. Love, danger. His last words tangled inside my head like a knot I couldn't pull apart. They're here. Who? Why? What did he get himself into? And why didn't he tell me? I felt the floor under my shoes tilt like the building itself was moving, and for a second, I thought I might pass out. But I didn't. I forced myself to stand up straight because if Liam was fighting for his life behind that door, the least I could do was stay conscious, stay ready, stay here for him. I wiped my face with the back of my sleeve. The tears were endless, hot, falling too fast. My mother stood from the chair, eyes wide. "Marin?" she whispered, stepping toward me. "Sweetheart, what happened?" Did something, but I couldn't speak yet. I opened my mouth and closed it again, trapped between too many words and not enough breath. Instead, I held up the phone, showing her the screen with the single message. She frowned, took a small step closer, but didn't ask to listen. Just touched my arm gently, grounding me like she used to when I was a child waking from nightmares. Except this was worse than any nightmare. This was real. I kept hearing his voice in my head, soft, shaking, full of things he never said out loud. 10 years of love hidden in silence. 10 years of pretending. 10 years of roots growing around his heart until he couldn't breathe. I felt a strange pain inside me, something old and buried coming back to life. Maybe I always knew. Maybe I just never let myself look closely because the truth was too bright to touch. But love wasn't the only secret he kept. That dangerous moment at the end of the message. The panic in his voice. The way he said they're here. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about us. It was something darker, something that made the air colder around me. I took a step toward the emergency room door, as if being closer could somehow keep him alive. My mother caught my hand, gently but firmly. "Wait for the doctor," she whispered. "There's nothing you can do inside." I knew she was right, but the thought of standing still made my heart race harder. I wanted answers. I wanted someone to tell me he was stable, breathing, safe. I wanted to know why he was afraid, who he was running from, and why I'd been kept in the dark all these years when I trusted him enough to give him every piece of me. The hallway felt endless. A nurse rushed past, pushing a metal cart with gloves and bandages. A man on the far side spoke quickly into a phone. Someone cried behind a curtain. Life continued in a cruel, normal way, while mine felt like it was splitting in half. I stared at the red sign above the emergency doors, restricted access. And all I could think was that the boy who loved me for a decade might be lying on a table fighting death alone, while the truth that could explain everything was trapped inside that single message now burned into my memory. I replayed his words silently. "They're here. I have to go. If something happens..." Something had happened. The crash wasn't random. It wasn't bad luck, or a rainy night, or a moment of distraction. Someone had been after him. My stomach twisted with fear so sharp I pressed a hand to it. I wanted to run outside and retrace every step he took before the accident. I wanted to find whoever did this. I wanted to scream at him for hiding things, for loving me quietly, for risking his life alone. But all I could do was stand there, breathing through the wreckage of his words. The door finally opened and a doctor stepped out. My heart launched itself against my ribs. He looked around the hallway until his eyes landed on me. "Are you Marin Doyle?" he asked. My breath caught. I nodded slowly, feeling the world shrink to that one moment. His face was serious, tired, but gentle. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like he knew my soul was already shaking. "He's unconscious," he said. "But he's alive. Alive. The word hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. My mother held my arm. I clung to the doctor's next sentence like it was a lifeline. We stabilized him. There was internal bleeding, but we managed to control it. He's not out of danger yet, but he's fighting. I closed my eyes. A sob slipped out of me, soft and broken. Fighting. Of course he was. That was who he was. That was who he had always been. The boy who stayed. The boy who helped others. The boy who carried secrets so no one else would hurt. The doctor rested a hand on my shoulder before stepping away. "We'll keep you updated," he said. Then he disappeared through the doors again. I leaned against the wall, shaking from relief and fear tangled together. He was alive. But danger still hovered around the edges of his story. Someone had been there before the crash. Someone who made him whisper in fear. Someone who took away the chance for him to tell me his truth in person. And suddenly, I knew with a heavy certainty that this wasn't just about love. It was about something he couldn't escape. Something that was now pulling me into its shadows too. And I wasn't ready, but I wasn't leaving. I slid down the wall slowly until I was sitting on the cold hospital floor, my knees pulled close to my chest. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't care how it looked. My whole world had tilted, and I needed the ground to remind me I hadn't fallen through it completely. Liam was alive, but the truth he left in my hands felt like a storm gathering above my head, dark and heavy, ready to break open. Love was one thing, fear was another, and the message held both. My mother sat beside me without speaking. She didn't try to hug me or fill the silence with soft lies. She just placed her hand on my back and let me breathe through the ache. I leaned forward, hiding my face in my knees, trying to decide which pain hurt more, the knowledge that he had loved me in silence for a decade, or the terror of realizing he might have been hiding from something real, something dangerous, something that hadn't ended with the crash. When I finally sat up again, the hallway was quieter. A soft beep from a monitor behind a curtain, footsteps echoing distantly, a nurse speaking in a tired voice. I wiped my face with my sleeve, my fingers trembling every time I touched the phone. The message haunted me. His voice, his fear, his words. I replayed the ending again in my head. They're here. Who were they? Why were they after him? Why didn't he tell me sooner? I stood up slowly, my legs weak, and walked toward a small window at the end of the corridor. The sky outside was black, heavy with rain. The parking lot below glowed under wet streetlights, and cars moved like slow, tired ghosts through the storm. Somewhere in that darkness, just hours earlier, he had been driving alone, whispering truths he never said in daylight. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass. "Why didn't you trust me?" I whispered. The words tasted like salt in my mouth. Maybe he wanted to protect me. That was exactly the kind of thing he would do, shield everyone else even when it destroyed him. He was always the strong one, the calm one, the quiet one who carried heavy things and smiled anyway. But love should have made him honest. Love should have broken the wall. And if he had told me sooner, maybe he wouldn't be lying in a hospital bed now. Maybe whoever he was running from wouldn't have found him. I turned away from the window and sank back into the chair beside my mother. She squeezed my hand gently. "Do you want to call someone?" she asked softly. "A friend?" But I shook my head. Liam was my friend. He was the one I called when things broke. Now he was the one breaking, and I didn't know how to fix any of it. My mother nodded quietly, understanding. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time moved strangely in the hospital, stretching and shrinking like it didn't know its own shape. At some point, a nurse approached to ask for Liam's emergency contacts. I gave them all. Then I said again, hugging myself tightly. The message kept echoing in my mind until finally, I opened the phone and scrolled back to the start, staring at his name on the screen. Liam Hart. How many times had I said that name with laughter? With worry? With affection hidden inside everyday words? Now it felt like a promise and a wound at the same time. My thoughts were interrupted when someone walked quickly down the hallway, a man in dark clothes, drenched from the rain. His eyes were sharp, scanning the room like he was searching for someone. My mother noticed him too, sitting up straighter. I felt a jolt in my chest. Something about him didn't fit the softness of the hospital. Not the way he moved. Not the way he looked around like danger lived inside his bones. He walked up to the front desk, leaning close to the nurse. "Patient Liam Hart," he said in a low, urgent voice. "Which room?" My heart stopped. My body froze. Fear slid up my spine like ice. The nurse frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. Only family is allowed to—" "I am family," he said quickly. Too quickly, too sharply. The nurse hesitated. "I need to verify." But he turned from her before she finished, scanning the hallway again, eyes cold and focused, like he wasn't looking for a friend, but a target. My pulse raced. This couldn't be coincidence. It couldn't be harmless. It couldn't be normal. Something inside me whispered the same words Liam had spoken in the message. "They're here." My mother touched my arm. "Marin, who is that?" "I don't know," I whispered. But my voice trembled because deep down I feared I did know. Not his name, not his face, but his purpose. The man started walking toward the restricted doors, the same doors that led to Liam. Without thinking, without breathing, without planning, I stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. "Hey!" I called out, louder than I expected. My voice cracked with panic. He turned. His eyes locked on mine. Dark, sharp, empty. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he started walking toward me, slow, deliberate, dangerous. My heart thundered in my chest. My hands shook. My throat tightened. He stopped just a few feet away. "You're Marin Doyle," he said calmly. Not a question, a statement. A certainty that made my blood run cold. "We need to talk." He said my name like he owned it, like he had practiced it, like it wasn't the first time he passed through his lips. My stomach tightened, my palms went cold. Instinct told me to step back, but my feet stayed nailed to the floor. My mother stood behind me, tense and cautious, like she felt the danger too but didn't yet understand its shape. The man's clothes dripped water onto the hospital tiles, darkening the floor around his shoes. His hair was wet, plastered to his forehead, and his jaw was tight in a way that spoke of anger, not worry. Whoever he wasn't here to pray or hope or wait. "I don't know you," I whispered, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Why do you want to talk to me?" He glanced toward the emergency doors, then back at me, his eyes narrowing just a little. "Because Liam trusted you," he said, "and he shouldn't have." The words hit me like a slap. Cold, sharp, wrong. For a second, anger burned through my fear. But the look in his eyes wasn't jealousy. It wasn't bitterness. It was calculation, like he was studying me, measuring something, waiting for a reaction. My mother stepped forward, placing herself closer to me, her presence protective and warm despite her fear. "Who are you?" she demanded. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady, the voice she used whenever someone crossed a line. The man didn't even turn toward her. His attention stayed locked on me. "My name doesn't matter," he said quietly. "What matters is that you know things he told you. Things he wasn't supposed to share." My heartbeat pounded so loudly I felt it in my ears. "I don't know anything," I said honestly. "I heard a message from him, that's all." That word made him react. Message. His jaw clenched. His eyes darkened. "He contacted you before the crash." Not a question. Another statement. A piece he had already guessed. My breath caught. If he knew that, he knew too much. "How do you know about the crash?" I asked slowly. He ignored the question. "I need you to give me whatever he sent you." He took a small step forward. Too close. Too sure. The message. The phone. All of it. I hugged the phone closer to my chest. No. His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes shifted, like a curtain falling. "You don't understand what you're involved in." I swallowed hard. "Then explain it." He didn't. He moved. Quick. Not to grab me, but to get closer, like he wanted to trap my answer in his hands. "Give me the phone, Marin." I stepped back. My mother stepped forward, but the hallway felt too small, too bright, too silent. My breath came fast. My mind scrambled through questions that had no answers. Who was this man? Why did he know about Liam's accident? Why did he want the message so urgently? And most terrifying of all, why did Liam think they were coming for him? "Tell me who you are," I whispered. "Tell me how you know him." For the first time, something like a cold smile crossed his face, but it wasn't warmth. It wasn't familiarity. It was threat shaped into a curve. "I know him better than you think. Then why aren't you worried about him?" I shot back, my voice rising without permission. "Why aren't you asking if he's alive?" His eyes flickered, and then I understood. He already knew. He knew Liam survived. And he didn't care. A sinking feeling hit my stomach so hard I felt sick. My fingers tightened around the phone. My mother touched my arm, sensing I was about to break. But I didn't have time to fall apart. Not now. Not while this man stood inches away with danger wrapped around his every word. He leaned in just enough for his voice to drop, quiet and sharp. "The things Liam was involved in don't belong to you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Give me the message." I felt my pulse in my throat, in my fingers, in my ribs. My instinct screamed, not just no, but run, but my feet stayed planted. I shook my head slowly. "I'm not giving you anything." His eyes hardened. "Then you're making yourself part of something you don't understand." His voice dropped lower, and that was his mistake too. My breath froze. His mistake. Past tense. As if Liam was already gone. My mother grabbed my hand. "We're calling security," she snapped. The man turned his head just slightly, listening to footsteps at the far end of the corridor. A nurse, a doctor, people, witnesses. For a moment I saw a choice flicker across his face. Stay and force this, or leave before someone noticed. He straightened his coat, jaw tight with frustration. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Not for you. And not for him." Then he walked away. No rush, no panic. Just cold certainty. I watched him disappear down the hall, turning the corner without looking back. My knees weakened. The world tilted. My mother wrapped an arm around me as my breath finally broke free in a shaking gasp. Because I understood something now, something that made fear bloom deep inside my chest. Liam didn't just hide a love. He hid his danger. And now, whoever hunted him was hunting his secret, which meant they were hunting me too. The moment he disappeared around the corner, the tension inside my body snapped all at once. My breath rushed out in a broken tremble, and my legs shook so badly I had to hold onto the wall to stay upright. My mother kept her arm around me, her voice low and urgent. "Marin, we need to tell the nurses, or the police, someone." She was right. She was absolutely right. But my mind felt like a maze with no exits. Every hallway leading back to the same terrifying truth. Someone dangerous knew my name, my face, and the fact that Liam had contacted me before the crash. I glanced down at the phone in my hand, feeling the weight of it like it was made of stone. That message wasn't just a confession of love, it was evidence of something someone didn't want me to have. Something big enough for a stranger to track me down in a hospital during a stormy night. Something deep enough to make Liam, the kindest person I knew, whisper fear into a recording like it was a last breath. My mother squeezed my shoulder. "Come on, sweetie, let's go to the desk." But before we moved, a nurse hurried toward us, eyes wide with alertness. "Miss Doyle," she said softly, "did that man speak to you?" I nodded, my throat tight. The nurse swallowed. "He came in asking for Liam earlier before you arrived. He said he was his supervisor, but something felt wrong. When I asked for ID, he left. Then he came back tonight." She glanced toward the hallway where he had vanished. "I'm going to alert security." My heart pounded harder. He had been here before I arrived. He knew where Liam was before anyone told him. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't looking. He already knew. As the nurse hurried away, my mother turned to me with a worried frown. Marin, what exactly did he say to you? I opened my mouth to explain, but the words tangled in my throat. How could I tell her that a stranger demanded Liam's message from me like it was a weapon? How could I tell her that he said Liam made a mistake trusting me, as if being close to him was dangerous? How could I explain something I didn't fully understand myself? Instead, I took a slow breath and said, he wanted the recording. My mother's expression hardened. Then we're not leaving your side. Not for a second. But something inside me felt restless. My feet kept shifting. My fingers kept tightening around the phone. I didn't want to sit. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to hide behind hospital walls pretending the threat had vanished. I needed answers. I needed clarity. I needed to understand what Liam had been running from and why he had whispered goodbye into that message like he knew something was coming. I walked toward a small seating area near the end of the corridor, where a dim lamp lit the corner softly. My mother followed, watching me with a protective gaze. I sat down slowly, my heart still racing. The message felt like a living thing inside the phone. I wanted to replay it, to find clues, to hear every breath, every pause, every noise behind his voice. But just as my thumb hovered over the screen, my mother reached out and touched my arm gently. Marin, maybe wait. Just until we talk to security. Maybe until we know you're safe. I nodded, but my mind kept rolling forward, pulled by memories I never questioned before. Little details that seemed harmless. Till now. The late-night calls Liam didn't explain. The mornings he showed up tired, like he hadn't slept. The strange bruise on his arm last month he laughed off. The time he canceled our beach day because of something urgent. The way he always checked his mirrors while driving. The way he jumped when someone knocked at his door late. The locked drawer in his apartment he never opened when I was around. Pieces. All pieces of a puzzle I never realized existed. Pieces of a life he kept hidden behind kindness and jokes and warm eyes. I pressed the phone to my chest and closed my eyes. Liam, I whispered under my breath. What were you doing? What were you afraid of? Before my mother could answer or comfort me, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Soft at first, then clearer. I looked up, and a doctor in blue scrubs approached, scanning the room until he found me. My heart jumped. I stood immediately, gripping the phone like it was part of me. The doctor stopped in front of us, his face serious but not cold. Miss Doyle, he said, we moved Liam to a recovery room. He's stable for now, but still unconscious. A breath of relief slid out of me, but fear followed it instantly. Unconscious meant he couldn't explain anything. Unconscious meant I couldn't ask him what he was running from, who that man was, or why his confession sounded like a farewell. Can I see him? I asked quietly. The doctor hesitated. Not yet. He needs to rest and we still have tests to run. But he responded slightly when we spoke to him. That's a good sign. My knees softened. Hope, fragile and trembling, flickered inside me. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded and stepped away. My mother exhaled slowly. You see? He's strong. He's fighting. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to hold on to that hope until morning. But the memory of the stranger's voice still clung to my skin like cold rain. This isn't over. Not for you, and not for him. I shivered, wrapping my arms around myself. If Liam survived, I wasn't sure what world he would wake up into, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the truth he left behind. The night settled deeper into the hospital, turning everything quieter, slower, heavier. The rain outside softened into a steady whisper against the windows, as if the world was trying to calm itself while mine kept unraveling. My mother convinced me to drink some water, but even swallowing felt strange, like my throat didn't remember how to work. Every sound, every beep, every footstep, every door opening made my body tense, afraid the man would return, afraid the danger hadn't passed. I sat in the small waiting area, hugging my knees against my chest, staring at the dim light above us. My mother watched every corner of the hallway like she expected someone else to appear. Nothing moved except nurses and tired visitors, but I still couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. Not physically, emotionally, like someone had reached inside my life, grabbed the one person I trusted most, and ripped open a truth I wasn't prepared to hold. I pulled out Liam's phone again. My reflection stared back at me on the dark screen-red eyes, pale cheeks, hair messy from running my hands through it too many times. I barely recognized myself. I unlocked the phone slowly, not to replay the message yet, but because a thought had been creeping into my mind since the stranger walked away. Maybe that message wasn't the only thing Liam left for me. Liam was careful. He was smart. He always planned ahead. If he'd sent that confession, the love, the fear, the goodbye, maybe he left something else hidden, something important, something meant for me to find. My fingers trembled as I opened his messages, scrolling through names I knew, friends from work, old classmates, a few numbers saved without names. Nothing suspicious, nothing unusual. Then I checked his notes, grocery lists, song lyrics, random thoughts. Nothing. Then his photos. Our pictures at the lake, his dog, his coffee selfies, a few sunsets, screenshot of a recipe, normal to normal. My mother leaned toward me. Marin, maybe rest. You've been awake too long. But rest felt impossible. My mind kept spinning in the same circle. If something happens, remember this. It was always you. His love wasn't the danger, it was the doorway to something else. Something he didn't have time to explain. I closed my eyes and held the phone against my forehead. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered again, my voice breaking. Why did you protect everyone but yourself? My mother touched my shoulder gently. When he wakes up, you'll ask him, and he'll tell you. But what if he didn't? What if he thought staying silent was still protecting me? What if his secrets were bigger than love, bigger than promises, bigger than apologies, bigger than what a single message could ever explain? I lowered the phone and scrolled through his recent calls. One number appeared more than once. Unsaved, no name, just digits. I stared at it, feeling something dark twist in my stomach. He called this number the night of the crash. Twice. And whoever it belonged to, he didn't want me to know. Don't, my mother whispered carefully, watching my face. Don't call that number, please. I'm not calling, I said softly. I need to know who's been talking to him. But knowing didn't feel safe anymore. Not when a stranger had spoken my name like a threat. Not when Liam's last words hinted at someone catching up to him. Not when the crash suddenly felt like a warning instead of an accident. Before I could make sense of anything, footsteps approached again. I looked up quickly, heart leaping into my throat, but it wasn't danger this time. It was a young nurse with gentle eyes and tired steps. She held a clipboard to her chest and looked hesitant, almost nervous. Miss Doyle, she said softly. I stood, gripping the phone tighter. Is something wrong? She shook her head quickly. No, not wrong. I thought you might want to know. She glanced toward the recovery wing, then lowered her voice. He woke up for a moment. My heart stopped. Completely. Stopped. The nurse continued. It was brief, just a few seconds, but he whispered something. The doctor wrote it down. My mother held her breath. I stepped closer, forcing sound past the tightness in my chest. What did he say? The nurse hesitated for a second, then handed me a small piece of paper, the doctor's note. Her fingers brushed mine gently, like she understood the weight of what she was giving me. I unfolded it slowly, my hands shaking so hard the paper almost slipped. There were only 3 words written in rushed handwriting. Protect the message. I felt the air leave my lungs in a painful rush. My mother covered her mouth. The nurse looked down, giving us privacy. He didn't ask for help. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't ask for me. He asked me to keep the message safe, the confession, the fear, the truth. And suddenly I understood something with terrifying clarity. Liam didn't send that message as a love story. He sent it as a key to something bigger, something dangerous, something he needed me to protect. My breath trembled as I whispered into the cold air of the hospital, "Liam, what did you get yourself into?" And the darkness around me felt like it was finally answering back. The words on that small piece of paper blurred as tears filled my eyes. "Protect the message." It repeated in my mind like a heartbeat, louder and louder, until it drowned out the sounds of the hospital around me. He didn't wake up to say my name. He didn't ask if I was there. His first instinct, his only instinct, was to warn me, to protect what he had told me. The love, the fear, the danger. All of it wrapped inside those 3 minutes of shaking breath and whispered truth. My mother touched my arm as if she felt the air shift inside me. "Marin, this isn't something you can face alone." Her voice shook. She was trying to be strong, but I saw the fear in her eyes. Fear for me. Fear for the boy she treated like a second son. Fear of a threat she couldn't see or name. "Not alone," I whispered, though the words felt thin. "He's still fighting." She pulled me into a gentle hug, but my body stayed rigid. My mind was racing, turning over his words, the stranger's tone, the unanswered call, the hidden fear behind Liam's smile these past months. My world, our world had been peeled open, and now every memory looked different under this new light. I stepped away from my mother and took a slow breath. "I need to hear it again." She hesitated. "Marin, are you sure? I have to." My fingers trembled as I tapped the message. His voice filled my ears once more, warm, scared, familiar in all the ways that mattered and foreign in all the ways that hurt. This time I listened not as someone heartbroken by a confession, but as someone searching for clues, for pieces, for meaning. The pauses, the background noises, the tension in his voice when he said they, the moment he whispered, "I have to go." Every detail felt heavier now, sharper, like the recording wasn't love, it was evidence. My mother sat down beside me, watching my face anxiously as I listened. When it ended, she asked softly, "Do you understand anything more now?" I shook my head slowly. I don't know what any of this means, but then a faint memory pulled at me. A moment from months ago. Something small, something I ignored. We were at his apartment, watching a documentary about space because he knew I loved the stars. At one point his phone buzzed with a message and he read it too quickly, slipping it face down beside him. I teased him, joking, "You're acting like you're hiding government secrets or something." He laughed, too hard, too fast. Then he changed the subject. And earlier this year he canceled our beach trip because he had to meet someone. When I asked who, he said quietly, "Just someone I owe an explanation to." Piece after piece began sliding into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. "Mom," I whispered, "what if the crash wasn't an accident?" She inhaled sharply. "Marin, don't jump to conclusions." But it wasn't a jump. It felt like a slow sinking. Before I could say more, 2 security guards approached us, the same nurse guiding them. "Miss Doyle?" one of the guards asked. I stood quickly. "Yes." We reviewed the cameras. "The man who spoke to you was seen entering other restricted areas earlier tonight. He didn't check in. He didn't give a name. We've notified police to sweep the premises." My heart pounded. "Is he still here?" The guard shook his head. "No. He left the building a few minutes after speaking with you. Security is watching the exits." My mother exhaled shakily, her hand gripping the edge of the chair. The second guard stepped forward. "Do you know him?" I looked down at the phone in my hands, then back up. "No. But I think he knows Liam, and I think whatever he's involved in is why Liam crashed." The guard exchanged a look with the nurse. "We'll stay close," he said gently. "If he returns, call us immediately." Then they walked a few steps away, staying within sight. My mother placed her hand over mine. "We should go home," she murmured. "Just for a few hours. You need sleep. You need to breathe." I looked toward the recovery rooms, the corridor where Liam lay unconscious, fighting alone in a war one didn't understand. The thought of leaving him twisted my heart painfully. but staying here might put us in more danger if the stranger decided to return. I'm not leaving the hospital, I said softly. But maybe we can move to a different waiting area. Somewhere safer, quieter. My mother nodded reluctantly. All right, let's find a place close to the nurse's station. We walked slowly down the hallway, away from the entrance, away from the place where the stranger had spoken my name like a sentence. The hospital seemed bigger now, its shadows deeper, its corners heavier with possibility, with threat, with secrets. My mother found a small room with a few couches, a vending machine humming in the corner, and soft lights that didn't hurt my eyes. She sat down with a sigh, exhaustion finally catching up to her. I stayed standing for a moment, pressing my palm against the cool window. The rain outside had stopped, leaving the world washed clean. But inside me, the storm only grew stronger. I whispered his name into the quiet room. Liam. 10 years of friendship. 10 years of trust. 10 years of love I never knew existed. And now, 3 minutes of truth that changed everything. I turned away from the window, clutching the phone against my chest. If he wanted me to protect the message, then I would. Even if I didn't understand why. Even if it meant facing whatever he was running from. Even if it meant stepping into danger I never asked for. Because love, even the hidden kind, was worth fighting for. And I wasn't leaving him, not now, not ever. The quiet room felt too small, like the walls were holding their breath with me. My mother finally drifted into an exhausted sleep on the couch, her head resting on a folded jacket, but I couldn't close my eyes. Every time I tried, I saw the stranger's face, heard Liam's trembling voice, felt the weight of the message pressing into my bones. So I sat near the door, phone in my hand, knees pulled to my chest, listening to the soft buzz of the vending machine and the distant beeps of machines down the hall. Hours passed slowly. The sky outside turned from black to a deep gray blue. Morning was coming, but nothing inside me felt lighter. My body ached with exhaustion, but my mind stayed awake, replaying memories, moments that now felt heavy with meaning I never noticed. Liam's late arrivals, his sudden silences, the way he locked his door twice whenever I visited. The night he told me to stay home because he had a bad feeling. He wasn't careless, he wasn't unlucky. He was hiding from something, and now that something had found us both. A soft knock on the door pulled me out of my thoughts. I froze, breath catching in my throat. The door opened slowly, but instead of danger, a familiar figure stepped inside. The same nurse from earlier. Her expression was gentle, but serious. "Miss Doyle," she whispered, "he's awake." My heart jumped so fast it hurt. I stood immediately, the couch creaking softly under my mother as she startled awake. "Awake?" I breathed. "Can I see him?" The nurse nodded, only for a moment. "He's weak and in pain, but he asked for you." My legs almost gave out, but I forced them to move. My mother placed her hand on my arm, her eyes full of both worry and love. "Go," she whispered. "Go be with him." I followed the nurse through the quiet hallway. Every step felt like walking toward the center of a storm, fear, love, confusion, hope, all twisting inside me. When we reached a door with a small square window, the nurse pushed it open and stepped aside. The room was dim, lit only by a soft lamp near the bed. Machines hummed quietly. And there he was. Liam, alive, eyes half open. Skin pale but warm under the light. His breathing unsteady but real. I moved closer, my hand pressed to my mouth to keep from sobbing. When his eyes finally met mine, tired, heavy, but full of the same softness he'd always had, I broke completely. "Marin," he whispered, voice weak and rough. I reached his bedside, almost afraid he would slip away if I touched him. "Liam," I breathed, tears falling before I could stop them. "You scared me. You scared me so much." His lips curled into the smallest smile. "Sorry." I took his hand carefully, terrified of hurting him, but he squeezed my fingers with what little strength he had. "I'm glad you're here," he whispered. "I never left," I said softly. "I'm not leaving." He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, gathering strength. When he opened them again, fear flickered behind them. Not fear of dying, fear for me. You listened to it, he whispered. Not a question. A truth. I nodded slowly. I did. His jaw tensed, the fragile muscles in his face pulling tight. Good. You needed to know. I didn't want. His voice cracked. I didn't want my last words to be a lie. Don't talk like that, I begged. You're alive. You're here. You're going to be okay. He shook his head weakly. There are things you don't understand. Then tell me, I whispered, voice breaking. Please. Tell me what you were hiding. His hand trembled in mine. His eyes drifted to the door, then back to me, filled with a fear so deep it made my heart stumble. They'll come for you now. My breath caught. Who? That man? No, he whispered. Not just him. All of them. A cold wave slid through me. Why? Liam swallowed with pain. Because of what I found. My eyes widened. What? What did you find? He exhaled shakily, trying to steady himself. At work. I saw things. Documents. Transfers. Money that didn't make sense. People getting paid who shouldn't exist. He closed his eyes tightly, voice trembling. I thought it was just a mistake. I looked deeper, and then they noticed. A sick feeling twisted in my chest. So this isn't about you owing someone a favor, or being afraid of your father, or some old friend. He opened his eyes again, and the sorrow inside them broke me. No, Marin. This is bigger than anything I ever wanted to touch. I felt the room tilt. You were trying to expose something? He nodded weakly. I couldn't stay silent. Not after what I saw. His breath hitched, pain tightening his jaw. I thought I could run long enough to figure out who to trust. But I didn't have time. The stranger's cold eyes flashed in my mind. He came here, I whispered. He asked for you. Fear flickered in Liam's eyes. Did he talk to you? Yes. His grip on my hand tightened suddenly, surprisingly strong. Marin, you need to go. Now. You can't stay here. I'm not leaving you, I said firmly, swallowing my fear. You have to. His voice was urgent, cracked open by terror. They know you have the message. They know I sent it to you. They'll want to erase everything I left behind. I'll protect it, I whispered, my voice trembling. I promise. He swallowed hard, a single tear slipping down his cheek. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. I never wanted this for you. Don't apologize, I whispered fiercely. You didn't drag me anywhere. I'm here because I care about you, because you matter to me. His eyes softened, filling with something bright and broken. I loved you quietly for so long, he breathed. And now the first time I say it, it comes with danger instead of flowers. I leaned closer, pressing my forehead gently to his. You're alive. That's enough. We will figure out the rest. His breath trembled against my skin. Marin, if something happens to me, nothing is going to happen, I whispered, tears falling onto the sheets. Not while I'm here. But as I held his hand, a shadow moved under the door. A pair of footsteps. Slow, purposeful. Too familiar. Liam's eyes widened in terror. They found us, he whispered. And before I could turn around, the door handle began to move.